What if the 84% of vegans who quit aren't failures, but victims of a system designed to burn them out? We have all seen the thumbnail. It usually features a young influencer, looking tired, defeated, and pale. The title is almost always the same: Why I'm No Longer Vegan. For a few days, that video trends, and if you scroll down to the comments, you don't see compassion. You don't see questions about their health. You see a public execution. You were never vegan to begin with. You're a murderer. Weak. Sellout. The internet mob descends, tears them apart, and moves on. But while the mob celebrates another traitor exposed, they are ignoring the terrified silence of the thousands of people watching from the sidelines. The people who are currently feeling that exact same exhaustion. The people who are terrified that if they speak up, they will be next. There is a silent graveyard behind this movement. We know the statistic. 84% of people who attempt this lifestyle eventually quit. That is a staggering failure rate. If a drug failed 84% of the time, we would recall it. If a bridge collapsed 84% of the time, we would rebuild it. But in the vegan movement, when people collapse, we blame the victim. This isn't a crisis of willpower. It is a crisis of exhaustion. This is the anatomy of vegan burnout. And we need to walk through the stages of this descent, because if you are feeling a heaviness in your chest when you think about your diet, you are already on this path. The burnout begins long before the first piece of cheese touches the lips. It begins in the mind. Let's talk about Sarah. Sarah is an archetype, but we all know her. Maybe you are her. When Sarah first goes vegan, it starts with an awakening. It feels like a rush of moral clarity. The veil is lifted. Suddenly, she sees the world as it truly is. But that clarity comes with a cost. To maintain her resolve, she feels she must bear witness. She follows the activist accounts. Every morning, before she gets out of bed, her phone screen floods her brain with images of slaughterhouses, animal separation, and torture. She watches Dominion. Then she watches Earthlings. She forces herself not to look away. She is told by the community that this trauma is necessary fuel, that to be happy in a world of suffering is a betrayal. So, Sarah enters a state of chronic, high-alert grief. Psychologists call this compassion fatigue. It is a condition usually reserved for trauma nurses, war correspondents, and first responders. But Sarah is a 22-year-old student, and she is carrying the weight of a global genocide in her pocket. She starts to look at her family differently. She looks at her father eating a sandwich and doesn't see her dad anymore. She sees a graveyard. She loses the ability to laugh at small things because how can you laugh when animals are dying? Her nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode 24 hours a day. She mistakes this misery for morality. She thinks that the more she hurts, the better person she is. But the human mind is a finite vessel. It cannot hold infinite suffering. The light starts to go out behind her eyes.
Joey knows it's confronting moments like this that make the best social media content.
The word Holocaust means destruction or slaughter on a mass scale. And if this isn't a Holocaust, what is it? There's begging for mercy in there and no one's listening. Vegans are listening though.
There's still debate about whether animals scream in fear and pain at abattoirs, but it's a sound that helps Joey recruit his army of vegan activists.
As the internal darkness grows, the external world begins to shrink. This is the second phase of the descent, the social fracture. Humans are pack animals. We survive through connection. For 200,000 years, our species has bonded over the sharing of food. It is our oldest ritual. But the dogma of modern veganism demands that you smash that ritual to pieces. Imagine it's Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or a wedding. The table is full of food and laughter. but you are sitting there with a Tupperware container of cold lentils or a Cliff Bar you ate in the car because you didn't want to be a burden. Someone passes the mashed potatoes. You have to ask, is there butter in this? The table goes quiet. Grandma looks hurt. Your uncle rolls his eyes and makes the same joke he made last year. You are technically right. You are sticking to your ethics, but you are profoundly, achingly alone. The movement tells you that this isolation is a badge of honor. They tell you that you are a lone wolf surrounded by bloodmouths. They encourage you to cut ties with non-vegans, to curate your friend group until it is a pure echo chamber. But isolation is a slow poison. It creates a low-level depression that grinds you down month after month. You start declining invitations. You stop going to birthdays. You avoid the office lunch. You shrink your life until it fits inside the safe, controllable borders of your diet. And eventually, the hunger for human connection becomes a starvation.
I think I probably share everyone else's belief that the hardest part about being vegan is being a vegan in this world, in a not yet vegan world. Because you're coming up against a lot of ignorance and a lot of backlash, and it can create a bit of conflict in your life when you are a vegan. I mean, it reduces a lot of conflict that you were causing, but it can create conflict with friends and family and strangers and things like that. So I think that's probably the hardest thing about being vegan.
And then, often when the mind and spirit are at their lowest, the body follows. This is the most controversial part of the burnout, and the one the community works hardest to suppress. There is a dangerous mythology that plants are perfection, the idea that if you simply eat the whole food rainbow, biology will take care of itself. We are told that humans are natural herbivores, and that cravings for meat are just an addiction to toxins. But nature doesn't care about ideology. Without meticulous planning that requires time, money, and education, nutritional gaps begin to widen. It starts as a whisper, a little brain fog here, a lack of energy there, waking up tired, brittle nails, a bloated stomach that never seems to go away. And then, the cravings hit. Not for toxins, but for density, for protein, for iron. This is where the tragedy happens. When a struggling vegan admits this online, when they go into a forum and say, "Hey, I've been vegan for 3 years, and I feel weak. What am I doing wrong?" They are not met with scientific help. They are met with gaslighting. You aren't eating enough calories. You're just detoxing. Eat more fruit. You need to eat more raw foods. You're obsessed with protein. That's meat eater propaganda. We see this happen in real time. We watch people deteriorate while the comment section applauds their discipline. The individual is told that their biological reality is a lie. They are told that their body is wrong. So they push harder. They restrict further. They double down on the ideology while their body screams for help. They think, "I am failing the diet," when in reality, the dogma is failing them. You know exactly what they will say about you, because you used to say it about others. I want you to picture a specific scenario. There is a creator. Let's call him Alex. Alex has a channel dedicated to fruitarianism. He has thousands of followers. He looks thin, he's losing hair, and he is depressed. He knows deep down that the diet is hurting him. He knows he needs eggs or fish. But he also knows that his entire livelihood, his entire social circle, and his entire sense of self-worth is tied to the label. He is trapped in a prison of his own making. If he eats an egg, he loses everything. So he fakes it. He suffers in private while preaching in public. This is the darkest stage of burnout, the fraud. The moment where the activism becomes a performance, hiding a crumbling reality. This is the breaking point, the perfect storm. You are mentally traumatized by the bearing witness. You are socially isolated from your family. You are physically depleted and gaslit by your community. And you are terrified of the judgment if you slip up. You are walking a tightrope over a canyon, and the movement is screaming that if you wobble even an inch, you are a monster. In a flexible system, a slip is just a slip. If you eat a piece of cheese, you just eat better the next meal. But in a rigid dogma, a slip is a total collapse of identity. The pressure of perfectionism snaps the string. It usually happens all at once. The burnout becomes total. The person finds themselves at a breaking point, maybe alone in a car, maybe at a hotel buffet. They eat the thing they forbade themselves. And because the identity was built on all or nothing, the only option left is nothing. They don't just eat the cheese, they abandon the philosophy entirely. They feel such an intense rush of relief, physically and mentally, that they swing the pendulum to the other extreme. They become the ex-vegan who eats nothing but steak, fueled by resentment for the years they lost to the cult. The dam breaks, the activist disappears, and the 84% statistic grows by one more number.
How long were you vegan?
I was vegan from 2013 till 2019.
So in 2019, what was the first thing that you ate?
My
What was it?
ex-husband cooked me some fish on the grill. So I'm actually right now in a very experimental period. It's actually fun to talk about with you because I know that you kind of have probably some good suggestions on that. But I'm experimenting a lot with like my diet and my body and my routine and my exercise right now. But I like looking at my brain and going, okay, listen, like someone cut my brakes, right, on my brain. And I have to take all the things, omega. Was vegan for a very long time, and I've had to introduce fish and omegas into my life because my brain wasn't functioning properly.
It doesn't have to end this way. If you are listening to this and you see yourself in Sarah or Alex, I want you to know something. The burnout is not your fault. It is a symptom of a rigid system that denies human nature. The only way to survive the burnout is to reject the dogma that caused it. It is not a crime to look away from the trauma to protect your sanity. You do not help the animals by traumatizing yourself into paralysis. It is not a weakness to prioritize your social connections over a hidden ingredient. Sharing a meal with your grandmother is more important than worrying about milk powder in a cookie. And it is not a betrayal to listen to your body. If you are sick, if you are weak, you have permission to do what is necessary to heal. We have to stop sacrificing the activist to save the cause. The movement needs to change. We need to stop looking for martyrs and start looking for sustainable, imperfect human beings. A vegan who burns out after 2 years and turns into an anti-vegan carnivore helps no one. But an imperfect person? Someone who eats plant-based 90% of the time, who keeps their sanity, who keeps their friends, and who sustains that lifestyle for 50 years? They change the world.